What's up, everyone? The TheAireaidLord is here, and yes, I am actually here. I know it has been a very long time. This is probably the longest stretch I've gone without uploading a video, but I got very busy very quickly, and the time just got away from me. And I still want to ride out this Walking Dead train, and kind of go along for the ride that they have us on for this new year. Now that we're into 2022, Happy New Year and happy holidays to everyone in advance. Again, I know I didn't get to do anything holiday related or anything really around the holidays. Apologies about that, but I hope you all did have a good holiday, and I'm ready for more Walking Dead. And with me, as I've had before for a number of co-op vlogs at this point, is Jeff, who you might know from Twitter in the Walking Dead World Twitter account, very diligently uploading the comes and goings of the Walking Dead universe, whether it be the original show, Fear the Walking Dead, or the just recently concluded World Beyond, really anything from the Walking Dead universe. He's covering it far better than I have. I will say that. Um, so yeah, how you been doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about our predictions for what's coming up this year in the Walking Dead universe. It's kind of been a weird couple of weeks not having any Walking Dead content because we had such a long stretch of it there. But it's been kind of nice to have a break. But I'm ready to get back into the swing of things, the main show especially.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. For my fans, I know that where I left off, I don't even know if I uploaded the final two. Like to explain how far behind I am, I don't even know if I did record them, but I don't even know if I uploaded the final two, like the season, like the episode 7 and episode 8 for the mid-season finale, like the reviews for those episodes. I probably should at this point. I mean, they're pretty outdated, but um, I definitely, I mean, I still remember where things left off, what we're going to be getting into, and that kind of brings us to this vlog where we're pretty much just going to talk about the state of The Walking Dead for this year. We're going to talk about all of the projects that are announced or will be announced, and just how I think this year should go for The Walking Dead, and just some confusions, some points of confusion that I have moving forward, just with the series and the franchise at large, and hoping that, Jeff can kind of break these down with me and kind of, offer his context into, how the world is being dished out by Mr. Gimple and his diligent team. But really, the crux of what there's a few sticking points for me. The first is that this year for The Walking Dead, we really need some information on the Rick Grimes movies. It is, at this point, it has been over 3 years since Rick flew off in that damn helicopter. And, I've had waits before for, shows and series and movies where, waited a year for Infinity War to Avengers Endgame, and just to name one example. But I mean, this being one of my, if not my favorite show, it is frustrating that one of my favorite characters in fictional storytelling history, cinema history, has just been MIA with really no explanation as to what the hell is going on. And the reason I mentioned, and I know a lot of people have brought this up, especially, like really ever since the movies were announced and Rick was taken off of the show, but there's even more importance placed on it this year. And the reason for that is because the show is ending this year. And I always thought that Rick was going to somehow come back in season, like for the finale. Like, I thought that for the series finale, for the last episode, the last two episodes, whatever it was going to be, I thought that he was going to be a part of that, that there was going to be some epic finale. Rick comes back, reunites with Judith. Michonne comes back. there's just some sort of resolution to the whole CRM Commonwealth plot. And my overall concern is that we have 16 episodes left of the main show. And we have a very loose understanding of how the Commonwealth operates. We haven't even met Pamela Milton. From the trailer that we got for part 2, it looks like we will see her. But for me, with everything we saw in World Beyond, with how widespread and powerful the CRM is, and now we're dealing with the Commonwealth, which seems like another large military group but doing things differently. There's an incredible amount of questions, and I thought that like what they wanted to do was have this be some sort of big crossover event where, I mean, without going into spoilers, look at what they're doing with the movie, with the Marvel superhero cinematic universe. I mean, you just had a movie with Spider-Man, No Way Home, where you had characters from all different universes of Spider-Man coming together in one amazing, action-packed, out of control, in a good way, movie that made $1 billion+ that shattered the box office in a season where COVID variants are still affecting movie attendance, but that didn't fucking stop anyone from wanting to go see this in theaters. Wasn't available on HBO Max or anything else, and it had the attention and the draw. So for me, I always thought that The Walking Dead was trying to make the crossovers more pronounced with Rick and the CRM and the Commonwealth, and it just seems like it's taking way longer than it needs to for this to happen. And I don't know the reasoning for it. I really hope we get some context. I mean, we'll have to get some context by the end of the year. And so I guess I'll pose this to you: is just, what are your thoughts in this realm? Like, are you concerned about how the show will end in relation to like the fact that more than likely we're not going to get a single Rick Grimes movie before the end of the Walking Dead show? And that's ridiculous to me. Like, I thought at least one movie would be out before the main show ended. So I'm kind of confused and baffled at how they're projecting this timeline. Like, I'd love to see Scott Gimple's map in his office of the timeline of The Walking Dead. Like, what, we do this, then we release this, and then Rick comes in. Like, I don't understand his map. It's baffling to me. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on this or not.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because it's like, it kind of has felt like since Rick left, the whole franchise has kind of been spinning its wheels a little bit, because they've teased the CRM in every single story we've gotten, but they've never been able to give like a huge amount of information. I mean, World Beyond gave a pretty significant like look inside their operations, but they didn't provide any answers as to where Rick currently is. And it feels like they haven't been able to give proper information because they don't fully know, and they don't want to spoil his story and whatever the movies will be. But it's funny because when the movies were first announced right after he disappeared, I thought surely we'll see like at least the first one, maybe even all 3 of them before the show ends, and then we get his return, and like you said, in the finale or something. But we don't even have anything about the first movie at all, and it doesn't seem like we're gonna get really anything solid anytime soon, which is insane to me. And I think that if there's nothing solid by the time the series finale airs, I'm gonna have like no hope that the movies are actually gonna happen, because that's the point where interest in the franchise is gonna tank more than it has, I feel, because obviously certain people will be interested in the other stories they have planned. Like myself, I'm gonna watch whatever they put out, but there is a part of the fan base that isn't going to continue watching all these different spin-offs. They want to know what happened to that core group of characters, and when that story comes to an end, I think that's going to be the end of their time watching. And if they just keep dangling Rick, on the horizon without showing anything for it, I think people are going to be fed up and not want to continue. So I feel like we might get some more like little teases throughout this coming season of The Walking Dead. I feel like we won't get anything else like like major like we did with World Beyond. But I think we'll get like little teases in this first half, maybe hints in the Commonwealth. And then I feel like by the end of the show, they have to give like something, like a mention of Rick's name, or have some of the characters go off looking for him. I don't know. I really just feel like this is kind of the make or break year for the Rick movies.
Yeah, it really is
It's
for
crazy.
yeah, it really is for the series overall because you have Fear the Walking Dead getting much later into its storytelling. You know, I admittedly don't follow it. I know it's been good. Like I've heard great things about it. Um, I stopped watching after I think season 5, and I should at some point just binge watch 6 and 7. I know there's been a
Mm-hmm.
lot of highlights and stuff, but I have through your Twitter and through others, I've scanned like if there's been any any crossover references. I know the CRM has popped up once or twice.
Yeah.
I know a fucking nuke goes off, so I'm wondering how the Commonwealth, or not the Commonwealth, the CRM felt about that. I don't know, like in terms of because they seem to be in the know about a lot of stuff, and but to go back to your point, there's all we really have are little tidbits of information, and I think the like you said, the dangling of the carrot is just not working like it used to because they're playing with a fragile fan base that's just kind of withering by the day. And I don't know if these spin-off series, the anthology series for some of the other characters is really going to work. The Daryl Carroll spin-off, like I just in my opinion don't think I don't think it's going to work in my opinion. And the only pieces of information we have is during a Talking Dead segment, somebody asked Scott Gimple if the Commonwealth and the CRM were aware of each other, and he said that question would be answered in the upcoming season, like later in season 11. I don't know if you heard this or not,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like I don't know what to make of that cuz like the thing is what are they going to say because like we need to spend what little time and what little episodes of season 11 we have left, we need to spend those learning about the Commonwealth, and then there's going to be some sort of conflict, war, whatever. Like, you need to very quickly introduce and conclude the Commonwealth. And it's a big task in 16 episodes. I mean, that's a big task to do. And
Yeah.
I kind of fear that they're going to rush it. Like I wish we had a season 12 that could be the after like season 11 introduces and sets up the conflict of the Commonwealth, then season 12 is the aftermath and then whatever comes next, like the big conclusion, the CRM, Rick, like whatever extra stuff you want to do, put it in there because then you'll give yourself more time. This year can be the Commonwealth year, and then 2023 do season 12, and then by then hopefully you have a Rick movie under your belt. But like I just again like the timelines just don't make sense to me. The other piece of information is I guess there were rumors that they've started filming the Rick Ryan movies. I don't know if this is true at all, but I saw that like in a certain area or Georgia or something, like where or maybe where World Beyond used to film, like they're like getting like a location set or something like that. Like it was completely unconfirmed. It was like a small report. Um
Yeah.
but those are the only two pieces of information I really have to go off of. Everything else is just waiting. Like the only concrete stuff we have is when we get season 11 of The Walking Dead again. Like that's the only thing. Now, someone had an interesting theory that someone brought to my attention. They're like, "Oh, do you think the Commonwealth is a subgroup of the CRM? Like do you think it's like almost like Negan and the Saviors where it's a military group that pledges fealty to the CRM. Like they do stuff for them, like secretly. Like, but the thing,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that would be true though, because like, wouldn't they have the black armor? Because they have totally different armor. It's from the comics. It's that white and red. It's completely different. And I'm again like because the CRM wasn't in the comics, so it's interesting to bring them into this whole picture. But I'm just concerned it's not being done the right way. You
I
know.
do think we could get some sort of like reveal that the Commonwealth and the CRM are sort of like allies, because there was an interesting thing that they did in World Beyond where there's this small community called the Perimeter, that's near the research facility that the CRM operates. And essentially, what they did was they formed an alliance with this. It's like a small little community that's not like a threat to the CRM at all. And it's sort of like, hey, you watch out for us, we'll watch out for you, we'll exchange goods, um, and we'll protect each other. And that's kind of that. I mean, I could see something like that happening with the Commonwealth, but the Commonwealth is its own sort of beast with a huge population and its own military and its own reasons for wanting to stay standing that could be a threat to the CRM. And the CRM has shown that they're willing to wipe out communities at no problem. So I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they would allow that community to stay standing if it's as big and as like as I don't know what the word is, but just as important as other communities have seemed to be. I don't know. I feel like I feel like they're gonna have to explain that some way in this final set of episodes, because otherwise it's just gonna kind of seem like a plot hole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's my major concern that it's going to be a plot hole that gets resolved, and if it gets resolved in like a very quick way. Like they throw a fucking band-aid over it and they're like,
Yeah,
oh, like, whatever, like they kind of knew about each other, blah blah blah. And it's just like, you have an amazing opportunity here with two very very powerful groups, and it's an evolution, and that's what I've always liked about The Walking Dead. Every season evolves the story from the governor to the cannibals at Terminus to what Negan represented to what Alpha and the Whispers. Like that was always what intrigued me, not only about the show but the comics, that Kirkman had villains that represented different hierarchies and different branches of ideologies stemming from the zombie apocalypse, whether it be primitivism with Alpha, or whether it be some type of caste system with the Commonwealth, or a descent into madness with the governor, or Negan had a very Mad Max, pay up the bullies in town kind of mentality. Like every villain was different. Yeah, we've had some copycat villains here and there, but for like our main villains that have lasted the seasons, like they've all had some variation. And now I feel like as we get to the end, you're reaching the pinnacle of the summit of what they can do, which is widespread military groups that have adapted to the situation and are trying to use the apocalypse to either cure the walkers, or make like different walkers. Like we saw that teaser at the end of World Beyond with the fast walker, which throws new like an entire new layer. Like if I thought, like, here I am thinking that the teaser at the end of World Beyond was gonna be something about Rick, and instead it's it's a throwback Edwin Jenner tape and this crazy fast walker. Like I so
yeah,
it's yeah I don't know. I would have a very hard time predicting this, and what happens is probably going to be very far off from my prediction.
yeah. And it's so interesting you said that about like the different groups, and that's something I've always loved about this show and this whole franchise, is that it's also like a matter of like circumstances, like where you end up in this world. It kind of determines like how safe you are and how long you're going to survive, because you see characters like our group that started off pretty small, just at a small little camp outside of Atlanta, and now they've managed to sort of work their way up to this like really great set of communities, and with Alexandria and all the hilltops not around anymore, but they've managed to build that, and then you have characters like the Whispers who have been surviving, but it's a completely different type of surviving where they're so primitive and just like animalistic. And then you have the Commonwealth, which is like it's it's the closest thing to the old world that you could possibly get to, where there's law and there's civilization and there's people have jobs and there's just like a sense of normal that doesn't exist outside of their walls. And I think that's so interesting that they can explore all that in this franchise. And I love that they've still sort of been evolving that over the course of all these seasons. And like you said, we're kind of at the pinnacle of that now with the Commonwealth, and that's sort of like the last frontier of The Walking Dead. So I'm really interested to see how that unfolds. And like you said, we have the CRM out there, so that could throw a whole wrench into the matter. We have these new walkers, which I don't know if that'll affect the main show or if that'll be something that they save for other stories in the universe.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be the plot of the movie. The CRM's experimentation with different walkers, not just the cure, but like weaponizing the walkers in a way that gives them a strength. Like I feel like that's that's where it's going to be. And like the information that we got, like I'll be completely honest, like I binge watched World Beyond to try to get like Rick details because everything I was seeing from season 2 was really piquing my interest. It makes me wish that, you know, not to take anything away from the characters that we had, the kids and everything, but like I wish season 1 did a better job of incorporating some of the backstory we got about the CRM, like season 2 did. And so what they revealed about Rick in the fact that like he's not being, because I always thought he was just captured and he was being experimented on, but Jada says that what she did, like he's not, like she saved him from being another experiment. And so he's like either with the military or he's doing something for them. And I feel like whatever he's doing, like he's almost like he's almost leading his own team to like test out these walkers. Like I'm almost like the clues that we're getting, it's almost allowing me to like piece together what the plot of this movie is going to be. But again, it's like at some point you just got to reveal it. Like you can't just keep dropping clues throughout shows. It's like just show us the fucking movie. Like I know it's amazing for you to keep teasing us and keeping your audience with the concept, but I just fear that like, you know, too much time has gone on. And this isn't like, I remember when there was the question of who Negan killed back in the summer of 2016, the unbearable amount of time waiting for that reveal. As I'm sure, you know, true Walking Dead fans remember how unbearable that wait was. We knew we were getting an answer that October. There was no question that when October, whatever, 23rd hit, we would know who received, you know, was on the other end of Lucille. But it's different now because we don't know, like, we don't know how, we don't know when. There's more questions than ever, and there is no solid date. There is no like, oh, we're gonna learn this about Rick on this date, or the movies are this date, and then, we don't even know how many movies there are. Like we've heard trilogy, more than one. That's not confirmed. Also, how the hell does Michonne get put into it? Is she gonna be in it? I don't know. Yeah. Like they will lose an amazing opportunity if they don't have a reunion between Michonne, Judith, and Rick. Like I feel like as fans, that's a payoff we truly deserve. And if we don't get it, like I'm gonna be very, very disappointed. I don't know about you, but that's just me in terms of the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm a little bit like looking towards like the end of The Walking Dead, the main show, I'm interested to see how they do it because I feel like the finale of World Beyond was sort of like, I don't want to say a test, but it was sort of like a way to. It was the first Walking Dead show to end, and it was sort of the way that they ended that. They could very well pick up with those characters, all those characters that survived somewhere else down the line, and I feel like that was sort of a way of sort of doing that with the main show, where they could end the main show, and we obviously know we're getting the Daryl and Carol spinoff, but I feel like the end of this show could sort of set up other stories with the characters that they want to continue on. Like, if we were to get like a Negan spinoff or, any number of the characters. So I feel like it's such a weird situation because I want Rick and Michonne's story to end with them reuniting with the people back in Alexandria. But if The Walking Dead ends with all the characters going their own separate ways, you miss the opportunity for that
Yep.
entirely, especially like if, Daryl and Carol go off on this big road trip. Well, they're not going to be there for, the day that Rick and Michonne come back, if that ever happens.
Yeah.
So it's such a weird, like, the timing of it all. And I feel like the fact that the movies have been delayed for so long just sort of furthered that entirely, because if they would have put the movies out before the show ended, they could have had Rick back for the finale. They could have had Michonne back for the finale and sort of ended it with them. But that doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And the only thing I'm kind of like, it's a stretch, but I just feel like it would be so cool if the movies were just like a complete misdirect and they're secretly in the process of filming Rick and Michonne's return for the finale or for the last couple of episodes, and the movies were just kind of like a misdirect and they're not actually going to be happening the way we thought they were. And
I don't know why you would lie about that. Like, that's already been... They've already had, like, a trailer that wasn't really a trailer, where there's, like, a helicopter flying towards a city. Like, they've already... It's already a thing. Like, you'd have to cancel the project. Like, it's already been announced as a thing, so...
Yeah.
And everything you just mentioned was my first point about I don't understand Gimple's timeline. Like, I don't know why he did it this way, because, like you said, none of the spin-off series allow you to tell the story in a way that relates it back to the movies. And that's the issue. Like, the Daryl Carol spin-off series, how the fuck does that relate to anything in the CRM, the super fast walkers? I could be wrong. I don't know, but I don't see how, like, unless you're dealing with that storyline, I don't see what, like, the huge investment is, because, like, again, you're teasing these very cool, interesting components of your universe that have been secret for a very long time. Like, the CRM has seemingly always been in the background, pulling the strings. They were, negotiating with the Junkyard Group for a while, way back in the season 7 days. And it's taken us a long time to just finally get insight. That's why World Beyond was such a breath of fresh air for me watching, because I was like, shit, I'm learning a lot about this group that has been so mysterious for so long. And now 2 seasons of this show, and I kind of feel like I know a little bit more about them. Not a whole lot, but I know some key players, like, this mysterious General Beale, and, what's her, Huck's mom, who ends up getting arrested in the finale by Jadis, and, and then obviously Jadis herself. I'm glad I didn't have to wait to the movies to find out about her. It was amazing. It was great seeing a whole bunch of scenes with her and her getting to reprise Jadis.
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that. Like, I don't know why we don't get more of that. Like, it's just in these small quantities, and, like, I just feel like they are missing opportunities that are right before them. And this being the final year of the show, like, I just hope that this timeline plays out in a logical way. And, maybe that's why for Fear the Walking Dead, I don't feel as much the need to be invested, because it seems like it's on its, and I could be wrong, you can fill me in here, but it feels like it's on its own island. Like, the fact that Madison's coming back, and, you've got this war between Strand and Alicia and Morgan. Like, I do kind of know the plot of what's going on, but it just feels very
Yeah.
separate from everything else we're dealing with. Like, I just.
I've I've kind of been joking lately that Fear the Walking Dead almost is like its own like version of reality because they get away with such ridiculous things on that show that are ridiculous even for the world of The Walking Dead. Like some of the stuff they do is just like I respect them for kind of being unique and doing their own thing, but some of it is just ridiculous, and it seems even more so now because it's set so far in the past compared to the main show and where World Beyond is that it's like there's all this stuff happening in Texas and it feels so disconnected from the main show. There's obviously like we have Morgan over there and we have Dwight and we have Sherry who are obviously our connections from the main show, but other than that, there's not really any solid connection to the wider universe, except for the little teases of the CRM we've gotten. But it's just so funny the way that that's sort of like it's literally it feels like an alternate reality almost. The way I mean, they blew up the state of Texas and they just have the characters magically living in radiation and not being affected by it at all. And there's it's such a different tone and like feel compared to the main show. But it's interesting because there was a report that came out that for season 8 of Fear the Walking Dead, they're moving production to Georgia, which I don't know if that's like a budgetary thing or if it's like a tax incentive thing, but I just think that's interesting with the main show wrapping up soon, and obviously they've filmed the main show in Georgia since the very beginning. So I don't know if that's hinting at a potential crossover or if they're going to merge stories. I don't really know what's happening there, but I do believe Fear the Walking Dead is going to be filming the 8th season not too far from now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That might give us some more intel on what could be coming from that side of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I freaking Lord knows what their end game is. Like we know that we're getting a final season of The Walking Dead this year, but like what's Fear the Walking Dead's end game? Like what? Because now they have like a major character coming back, like that whole
Yeah.
Madison announcement. Like that was pretty big for that show. So
Yeah.
what does that mean for the show now? Like I don't, I there could be a crossover, but like it'll be just in time for the main show to end. Like again, like I don't. I'm kind of confused, maybe by the decision to wrap up the show this year because I feel like what what you're trying to do with the rest of your universe does not fit with the decision to end the show. And from everything we're talking about, like there's things that need to happen in a certain order with your story, and how you've gone about production and release doesn't allow for those things to happen like that.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like I don't, like again, they've made these things work before, but for me it's just like I want to know what the fast walkers do. Like I want to dig into the CRM's gritty business more. What the fuck's Rick doing? Like I have all these fucking questions, and it's like, well, here's content, but not the content that is pertinent to this main driving universe. And it's like at this point you got to start getting into that stuff. And it's not a matter of me being impatient, it's a matter of me pointing out the fact that your show is fucking ending this fall, so it's in your best interest to get the ball rolling, because like time is not on your side in this regard. Like you're running out of runway to tell the rest of your story, and you're going to run out of avenues to do it because you're not going to have enough side stories of this and that. Like unless you make a new Walking Dead show or a new spin-off show that can cover it, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to divide audiences, though, if you try to do something that's splintered off from your main show. Like, you had your main show as the basis to keep people wrapped into the universe, and now if you end that and try to tell the story in other ways, I just think it's going to cause problems with dividing your audience ultimately.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm worried too about, like, um, the fact that there's 16 episodes left. Which, I mean, that's in a normal year that would be a full season. But when there's so much story left, and there are so many characters left alive after the first part of the final season. We have so many characters left. I want those stories of each of those characters to feel like they're finished by the time the show ends. Even if they have plans to continue them elsewhere, I want them to feel like they're finished within this story. Um, like even Daryl and Carol, even though we know they're getting a spinoff, I want conclusion to their story at Alexandria and with this set of characters that they're with before they go off and do whatever. And I just worry that with this many characters, they might not be able to wrap everyone's story up in a way that's satisfying and that makes full sense. And I get like images of how Game of Thrones ended, and that makes me a little nervous because once that ended and the sort of reception that finale had and that final season had, that show just completely disappeared from like public consciousness, and no one really talks about it anymore. So it's kind of like it's the type of thing where that very well could happen with The Walking Dead if they don't stick the landing. You know, that could be it. Like people will move on to the next big thing.
Yeah.
Especially when people are so invested in this show and the characters and what it means to people that if they don't nail the ending, like, you know, that's I wouldn't want that on my plate. And I mean, I know, you know, they've done a lot of good things with the final season so far, but for me personally, the first part of it wasn't the best sign of what's to come, just because of I feel like they wasted a lot of time that they don't have on stuff that I don't really care that much about, like the Reapers. I don't really care about that
Yeah,
story
and
that
that
much.
storyline's not even finished yet. Like
It's not over, yeah.
you still have the aftermath with you know, Daryl's girlfriend there taking over the Reapers, and like how that resolves. Like you're I mean, obviously we know that the Commonwealth is finally gonna, you know, bump into Alexandria, and there's gonna be, you know, massive crossover there. But like, yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. And like the the driver for the Commonwealth in the comics was like Rick just talking ideology with Pamela Milton, giving her a tour of like the facilities, and it's gonna have to be different because Rick's not there. And I don't know like what your end, like that's the thing. I almost feel like the Commonwealth story is gonna be wildly different from the comics. To be fair,
Yeah.
the comics didn't do it that great anyway, because Rick gives one giant speech and then all of a sudden everything's fine, and then he gets killed by a kid. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't too big of a fan of how, because Kirkman literally, he was just like, I just want to end this, and he's like, all right. Rick gives a speech, diffuses the whole thing, and then I kill him off because I love to fuck with people. So I, you know, so yeah, I'm not sure. You know, but now it's going to be completely different. So it's exciting that it's going to be different within a grounded group that we know. But you know, like you said, I just hope they stick the landing.
Yeah.
I've known too many shows
And
that haven't done that. Obviously, Game of Thrones being the biggest in recent memory for people of a show that just did not fucking stick the landing when they had all of the tools necessary to do so, and they just didn't do it. And I just, like, that's what I'm saying here. Like, The Walking Dead has all the tools necessary to make this work, and I'm just, you know, a little nervous with their timeline about them being able to do it effectively.
yeah, and I like what you said about like things being different, because it does. I do think this kind of gives like an interesting opportunity to tell the Commonwealth story, but change it up massively with like all these different characters who either weren't in the story at all in the comics or who were dead by this point. Like Carol and Daryl obviously had nowhere. Daryl wasn't in the comics at all. Carol was dead long before this, but we're actually going to get to see them in the Commonwealth story, we're going to get to see characters like Rosita, who was dead by this point, and
Ezekiel as well.
Ezekiel.
Yep.
So that's something that I'm really looking forward to, because I feel like that gives a different take on a story that has already happened, but it's going to be weird seeing that story without characters like Rick and obviously like Carl and some of the others that we've lost. But I do think it could turn out really, really interesting, especially like Negan too. Negan wasn't really involved in that at all, and it looks like we'll actually get to see him involved in the Commonwealth story, which is something I really want to see. So it could go either way. I'm interested though to see what happens.
Yeah, I guess as some closing remarks here, what's one thing that the franchise in general has to do this year in order to make a good mark? I mean, other than, I guess, releasing the fucking first Rick Grimes movie, what would be something in your opinion they need to do in order to have an effective year and to retain their fan base and maybe grow more?
Yeah, I think they just need to start like setting up the next era of the Walking Dead franchise. I kind of look at it like the way Marvel sort of operates, where they release their films and their shows in phases, and it feels like this is sort of like the Walking Dead's first phase coming to an end, with the main show coming to an end. And there's obviously story beyond that main group of characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I do believe that there's potential for other characters that we haven't even met beyond this set of characters that we have now. I just feel like they need to establish that in a way that's exciting and that gets people talking. And I think they have started to, by doing things like the fast zombies and a few other little things that they've sort of teased throughout the shows. But I feel like before the main show ends, they really need to like hit people hard with like, hey, we still have a lot of really cool and exciting stuff coming up that you're going to want to stick around for.
Yeah.
And,
so and I don't think that anything. There were a lot of interesting things in season 11. Don't get me wrong. I was really turned off and frustrated by the first 3 episodes, but once we got to know the Reapers more, and once the Commonwealth started getting going, I was a lot more keyed into the show. But like the fact that Negan was teaching Maggie Whisperer tactics that they used against the Reapers, like that was a really cool plot element. Diving into some of the inner workings of the Commonwealth, the fact that Stephanie is like there's a fake Stephanie that's disguising her identity, and like no one's bringing this up, and like Eugene hasn't met like the real Stephanie. Like it's kind of it's kind of hilarious. So I've enjoyed some of the stuff that they've done so far, but like there's just so much more, and for me they have to bring up their larger universe. For me, if like what they're gonna do this year to be effective, when we meet Pamela Milton, there should be a scene where she talks about the history of the Commonwealth, and in talking about the history, there should be like a bombshell moment where she mentions the CRM, and that would be a great opportunity to be for the characters, like maybe Daryl, maybe then Daryl's like, oh, could this be why Rick like vanished? Why Rick isn't here? Because like that's another lingering plot point. Like, will Daryl ever have peace of mind with Rick's fate? Because he knows that something isn't all right with it. Because he would have found, like, the fact that he was never able to find Rick's body or a walker that was Rick is just driving him crazy, because he suspects that something else happened, which it did. So will Daryl ever have peace and resolution with that fact? And I just think
that's something that like they really have to touch on, because if he's gonna leave with Carol to go do who knows what, it just would not make sense to me if they drop like a hint to the characters that, hey, Rick might still be out there, Michonne's out there looking for him, and then Daryl just decides, oh, you know what, I'm gonna ignore that and go right off into the sunset with Carol for a spinoff. Like, that would make zero sense to me.
Yeah.
After he's been spending all this time looking for him.
Yeah.
And also, like, him just leaving Judith and RJ behind, knowing that, you know, Rick might be out there and that there could be more to that. That would make zero sense.
Well, at some point, I think there's going to get to the point where Judith finally has to tell. Because, like, Judith knows why Michonne left, and I want her to finally be like, yeah, she thinks that Rick is alive and this blah blah. Like, that could start the cascade of events that could connect to this other stuff. Like, you know, you have a variety of ways you could do this with stuff that you've already set up. You know, like, it's there for you. It's there for the taking, you know? And I guess maybe some of this has taken longer because last year was kind of like a weird year. We only got bonus episodes last spring because of the pandemic fucking up production. And, like, that's something I should take into consideration, that maybe the movies were, you know, they would have maybe come out by now or close to now if the pandemic hadn't messed things up with production. But there's other big AAA movies and stuff being created. Like, you have the Batman coming out in February. You just had a, you know, great Marvel movie. You have more Marvel movies, a new Doctor Strange. Like, there's big production ticket items coming out this year and last year. So I don't see why that would have, you know, dampened The Walking Dead like that much. Like, obviously I want to be sensitive to the fact that that could have held up production, but, you know, to that extent, you know,
See, my thing with that is, like, if that is the case, which I do think that's definitely, you know, playing into it a lot, then they need to come out and say that. Like, hey, you know, we were planning on starting production on these movies and getting them out sooner. COVID threw our timeline into the frenzy, and, you know, we've had to delay them. But give an explanation as to why, instead of us being wondering all this time if they're even happening. Like, they just have been so dead silent on the movies entirely, and I just don't think that hints to me that they don't have, like, full confidence in it at all, that's actually going to happen. So I wish they'd be more transparent of, like, what's actually happening with them, even if it's, I feel like people would be understanding if they were like, yeah, they were delayed a couple times because of these issues, but they are still happening, you know? That's all it would take if they would say something like that.
Yeah. But you know the way Gimple is. Like, he wants to keep this shit, like, he doesn't want to say that. He wants to keep it close to the vest. He wants to let the product speak for itself. But if the product's taking forever and we don't understand the timeline, like, these questions are gonna come up. So, so yeah, that's kind of this is almost our Walking Dead New Year's resolution in a way, just in terms of, like, what really should happen. And I think most fans would agree with us. You know, if you have opinions, leave them in the comments, obviously, or, you know, leave them on Jeff's Twitter page. But, you know, I feel like a lot of what we're saying is how a lot of Walking Dead fans feel. You know, maybe they didn't know the right way to piece it all together, which is why we're both trying to piece together how we think this should go, what the logic has been to this point, you know, the confusion as to what they're doing, you know. So, you know, again, there was a lot of great things to take away from The Walking Dead last year, and, you know, I know that's going to be the case this year, and I just hope that I'm not left disappointed by the end of season 11. You know, it would really suck. So, you know, here's to that not happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, like, really excited for what they have coming this year, especially with the main show. I mean, a lot can happen in 16 episodes. There's so much that they could do that could really, you know, set the stage for a great finale. And was surprised with how World Beyond wrapped things up. I think they did a really good job of concluding the individual character stories and kind of setting up future stories that could come from it, and kind of giving conclusion to that individual story that was going on in a really good way. And I remember being halfway through season 2 thinking, I don't know if they're gonna like be able to wrap all this up before it ends. And I personally think they ended it really well. So it can be done. It's just a huge task, especially with all these different external factors in the story. So we'll see. We'll see. It's an exciting year for the show, though, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure if it doesn't end the way we want, we'll be making another vlog like this discussing what they should have done, and hopefully I'll have some good words for Gimple and his team by the end of it. But yeah, for now, those are my thoughts. Was there anything else you had on the matter before we wrap up?
I think that's it. I'm just looking forward to everything we have coming this year. There's Walking Dead. There's Fear the Walking Dead. There's the Tales of the Walking Dead spinoff coming in the summer. There's a lot to look forward to this year.
Who knows what that's going to be? Is it characters that have already been killed? Is it like... will we see like the French division where there was experiments? Is it new stuff? Like, what's that going to be? That's another question entirely. So
yeah, I feel like that's kind of the thing I'm looking forward most to outside of the main show, is just what kind of stories we'll get from that. I really hope that they use that as like an opportunity to give backstory to characters that we didn't really get much backstory for on the main show and the spin-offs. I've always been like rooting for some sort of story about Abraham's group before they met up with Rick's group. I've always wanted to see that. And I feel like that would be the really best option for that. So there's a lot that they could do with that. And I think that'll be kind of the next thing that everyone tunes in to see, who they get back each time with the actors and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that would be interesting if the actors had an interest in, reprising those roles. I don't know if some would be either old or if it wouldn't work anymore, but I do hope, like, if there are gaps and there is interest, that people would want to see that. If they could maybe get Glenn involved, I know that would be, that would bring a lot of people in, I'm sure. So
yeah,
Glenn is pizza delivery. I don't know. I don't know if that's interesting enough for people, but if they want to watch it, then why not? So, so, all right. Well, this is a good vlog to jump back into the content. We won't have The Walking Dead until February, but we at least have a lot to consider going into the new year, and this was a good long vlog to jump back into the content, especially from my perspective, having taken a very long hiatus from doing these kind of vlogs. So yeah, happy to be back in the saddle, at least for now, and hopefully we'll have more topics to discuss for the two of us.
Yeah, totally. It was a good sort of like way to look towards the future of the franchise, since this is the last year, and I feel like we kind of talked about what our worries are, but also like what we're hopeful about. So that was good.
Yep, absolutely. All right, sir. Thank you so much for collaborating as always, and thanks to my fans and viewers for checking it out. And yeah, be sure to subscribe to me, and then also follow Jeff at his Twitter accounts, which I'll leave in the description to go check out. And I'm sure some of his followers are tuning into our vlog as well. So yeah, thanks so much, and we'll see you for the next one.